Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome to The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. You guys can check out The Process, Touchdown Alabama's premier recruiting show every Tuesday and Thursday on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. So be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube. And on this episode of The Process, I wanted to take a look at 5 recruits who are trending in the right direction for Alabama in the 2021 recruiting class. And I wanted to break down where their recruitment currently stands and talk a little bit about their game and some of the things they bring to the table, and hopefully they'll be able to bring to the next level at the school of their choice. And I wanted to take a look at that with recruiting news continuing to flow despite Alabama and the rest of the college football world being restricted in certain ways on the recruiting trail at this very moment. But before I dive deeper into that, I am going to hit you guys with those recruiting updates, and that is exactly what I'm going to go to next. So with that being said, let's get the process started. A lot has happened in between our last show and this show, and I wanted to provide you guys an update on the latest things surrounding Alabama football recruiting. And one of those updates is the fact that Alabama was included in a top 6 released by 5-star inside linebacker Terrence Lewis recently. This is a Florida product, released his top 6 and did not include any Florida schools. Alabama was included in his top 6 list recently. Alabama was also included in 4-star outside linebacker Aaron Willis of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland, his top 7. Alabama was also included in a top 5 he released earlier during the football season. So Alabama still looks to be around his commitment, still looks to be involved in his decision. Alabama was also included in his teammate Katron Evans, a 4-star defensive lineman in the 2021 recruiting class, who also plays for St. Francis Academy. He included Alabama in his top 8. So Alabama has had a lot of success with prospects from St. Francis Academy, so they are still recruiting that school very well, keeping that contact open by recruiting some of their top guys in each recruiting class. Alabama landed 2 of their guys in the 2019 recruiting class, and they also picked up Chris Broswell in the 2020 class, along with Trayshawn Holden, who previously played for St. Francis Academy for his junior year before he went on to transfer to Narbonne High School for his senior season in California. So Alabama is still involved with those guys' recruitment at the moment. Alabama was also included in a top 6 for 5-star wide receiver Troy Franklin out of California. He is the number 1 wide receiver in the 2021 recruiting class at the moment, according to most recruiting sites. So Alabama was included in his top 6 as well. I recently got a chance to catch up with Darryl Peterson, a 3-star defensive end out of Akron, Ohio. He told me that Alabama has been in heavy contact with him throughout this dead period. So another guy Alabama is in contact with. He also told me that he could possibly push his commitment up if he does not choose to take his officials in June, because he wanted to announce his commitment during the summer and take some of his official visits during the summer as well. He does have West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Alabama in his final 3. He wanted to officially visit those schools before he made a decision. But if he cannot officially visit those schools in June, if the NCAA extends this current recruiting dead period past May 31st, he may push his commitment date up. Actually, he did tell me that he could commit earlier, and I think this is a good sign for Alabama. They are in constant contact with them constantly throughout this dead period. They hosted him during their first junior day event during the month of February. So I think Alabama is in a good position with Darryl Peterson, as I got a chance to catch up with Tim. I also recently got a chance to catch up with 5-star athlete Quincy McKenzie out of Pinson Valley High School in Pinson, Alabama. He did tell me that Alabama has been in constant contact with him also throughout this recruiting dead period. He also told me that a commitment for him could come whenever the moment feels right. You guys can check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. Alabama's also recently offered a couple of guys. All of those articles are available to read for free on touchdownalabama.com. All offer articles will be free on touchdownalabama.com. I will drop the link in the description for you guys to read up on those offers. So those are some of the updates I wanted to provide you guys with. Keep you guys updated on everything surrounding Alabama football recruiting. And another update before I go on, I don't want to skip over this, is the fact that Alabama was also included in a top 8 released by 4-star linebacker in the 2021 recruiting class, and Jeremiah Williams out of Ramsey High School in Ramsey, Alabama. So Alabama's still in the mix. They're still continuing to recruit some of the top targets in this recruiting class, especially the 2021 class. And I wanted to provide some of the updates that I have received by just talking to some of the guys who are being recruited by Alabama, but also some of the things that recruits are just releasing with the top schools list. They're trying to break down their recruitment now that they are not allowed to visit any schools at this very moment. So those are the updates I wanted to provide you guys. Now I'm going to go into the 5 guys who I feel Alabama is trending upwards with in the 2021 recruiting class. The first guy I want to discuss who I feel Alabama is trending upwards with is 5-star athlete Quincy McKenzie, who I discussed earlier in the show. There's plenty of reasons to believe Quincy McKenzie and Alabama are on very good terms at the moment. He did tell me, as I said earlier in the show, that Alabama has been in contact with him almost every day. And as Nick Saban said in an interview with ESPN reporter Maria Taylor on Instagram Live recently, he did tell Maria that he has been in contact with several recruits, and Quincy McKenzie is definitely one of those recruits he has been in contact with. And when you look at McKenzie, he's a special athlete. I have raved about him several times in the past. I feel he's one of the more gifted athletes to ever come out of the state of Alabama. I think he's going to produce no matter where he goes, but I think Alabama is in a great position with them when you look at the fact that they are the latest team to host them, one of the only teams to host them after his basketball season was up. And he also has the opportunity to play football and basketball at the University of Alabama, which is something I definitely think he wants to do at the next level, as several teams have jumped on that bandwagon, offering him in multiple sports. I think Kansas was the first school to do so. I think several teams have followed that trail. So Alabama is in a good position by offering him in both sports, giving him the opportunity to do that. And I guess this is kind of the positive, the other side of the table when you look at Alabama luckily and fortunately having the opportunity to host them before the NCAA canceled and put a ban on the latest visits. So McKenzie has only visited the University of Alabama over the last couple of months. That visit is fresh on his mind, and I'm pretty sure that Alabama's coaching staff is using that to their advantage, constantly contacting him, making sure he knows that you're one of our top targets and that you are a priority for us in the 2021 recruiting class. Ian Jackson, a 4-star linebacker out of Prattville High School in Prattville, Alabama, is another kid I feel Alabama is trending up for during this recruiting dead period by constantly staying in contact with him. A lot of teams are staying in contact with Jackson, trying to develop and build that relationship. Alabama actually offered him during the month of February during their first junior day event, and by them staying in contact with them pretty much every day from that point on, he feels he's one of their top targets, and I think that's one of the reasons I feel they are trending up with them. They may not lead this recruitment at the moment, but I think they are in a very strong position by staying in contact with them after Nick Saban actually offered him, and he has been in contact with Nick Saban as well. So I think showing that major interest throughout that time when they offered them in short order, and similar to Quincy McKenzie, Ian Jackson was on the campus of the University of Alabama. He is one of the recruits who was fortunately able to get down to the University of Alabama before this dead period came on. So with that visit to Tuscaloosa is also fresh on his mind, and I think Jackson is a guy to look out for. I actually had Jackson on the process a few episodes back. He did break down the latest in this recruitment as he released a top 10 when I had him on the show. He also talked about Nick Saban, and he also discussed some things he's doing during this quarantine and while practicing social distancing. So I think Ian Jackson is another guy Alabama is trending up for. Terrion Arnold, a 4-star defensive back out of Florida, is a guy who I also feel is on the up when it comes to Alabama recruiting him. Alabama also hosted him for their junior day event, and they have constantly stayed in contact. He joined the process recently also and told me actually that Nick Saban told him that he was their number one defensive back on their recruiting board. So Alabama has a lot of interest in Terron Arnold. They have told him that constantly. They offered him during the regular football season, was able to get him on campus for a regular season game, was also able to host him for that junior day event. And I think Alabama is in a great position with him, but he's a recruit that is taking his recruitment very slowly. He wants to evaluate all of his options, so I doubt if he comes out with a commitment anytime soon, especially with the recruiting dead period going on. I think he wants to take some more visits as offers continue to roll in for him as he continues to evaluate his recruitment some more. But I think with this recruitment dead period, Alabama's coaching staff is really taking advantage of the virtual recruiting that you have to do right now, constantly staying in contact with guys via phone calls, via text messages, via video calls. And I think Nick Saban is really taking that upon himself to become more into the technical side of reaching out to recruits, taking it upon himself to reach out to recruits via FaceTime and different things like that. And Terron Arnold is one of those guys he FaceTime recently. So Terron Arnold is another guy I have to say is trending up for Alabama. Jeremiah Williams, a four-star linebacker out of Ramsey High School in Ramsey, Alabama, released his top 8 recently. I did say that at the beginning of this show, and I think Alabama is in a great position with Williams as he added them to his top 8. And Alabama actually offered him on January 31st, a day before their junior day event in February. He was actually able to get down to the University of Alabama that next day and visit Alabama for that junior day event. And I think that was a great visit for Williams. He does have a lot of respect for Alabama, but unfortunately Alabama offered him a bit later than some other schools offered him as far as Power 5 programs going after him. And I think they're trending up because they have to make up some ground. It's good that he is an in-state kid and he respects the University of Alabama and he really likes the University of Alabama, and that's a plus for them. But I think they do have to make up some of that ground as they were constantly in contact with him, but they waited a little later and evaluated him some more before they extended an offer to him, while other schools like Clemson and Auburn had already extended offers to him. So I think Alabama is trending up for him because they have to make up some ground by staying in contact with them throughout this dead period as much as they can, as much as possible, trying to strengthen that relationship, trying to make sure that they're developing a relationship with them, trying to make up some of that ground. I think they're trending up. They may not be at top of this recruitment similar to Jackson, but they are definitely trending up. Darryl Peterson is another guy I feel Alabama is in a great position as far as trending up for him. When it comes to Peterson, he's a kid, as I said earlier in the program, at the top of the program, he's a kid that wanted to commit during the summer months, hopefully take official visits during the summer, possibly during the spring months, but he was unable to due to the restrictions put in place by the NCAA. But he did tell me if he cannot take his official visits during the month of June, he could possibly commit early. And I think this is a good thing for Alabama because they have hosted him recently, getting him on campus for the junior day event in February as well, because that junior day event was really loaded when it comes to talent in February, and Darryl Peterson was one of the guys they were able to get on campus during that particular event. So with Darryl Peterson's commitment possibly coming early, I think Alabama is in a good position, but so is Wisconsin, as they also hosted him before the NCAA implemented this current dead period. Wisconsin is a team that has been around this recruitment for quite some time now, but I think Alabama showing that major interest without being able to host them, just continuing to stay in contact, telling him like, yo, you're one of the guys that we want. If you come here, we're going to possibly play you at all 4 linebacker positions. I think Peterson is a guy who's a bit underrated on most recruiting sites. He's a 3-star recruit, although he set a single season record by making 21 sacks. So I really think Peterson is a underrated kid, and I think he's gonna blossom during this summer if he can get to some camps. But even if he don't get the camps, I think his senior film will really show that he deserves to be at least a 4-star on most recruiting sites. So Darryl Peterson is a guy I feel Alabama's in a great position with. Look out for him as far as his commitment if the NCAA extends his recruiting dead period through May 31st. A commitment from Darryl Peterson could come early, but if they do allow visits, expect Alabama to get some type of visit from Peterson during this summer. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of The Process. While you're here, be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube, then head over to touchdownalabama.com. Be sure to pick up a subscription. With that subscription, all of our subscriber-only articles will be available to you, and you will also receive our yearly print magazine issue. Be sure to download the Touchdown Alabama app. It is located in the Google Play Store as well as the Apple App Store. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining me on the process today. As always, I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.
Uniontown,